Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. We are here with another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. I've got my friend Ron Holmes, not the porn star Ron Holmes, but Ron Holmes, the United States Marine and owner of Ryker. What's the full name of the business, Ron?
Ryker USA.
Ryker USA. Good American name. So Ron and I met virtually last year. I'm looking for my grip. I can't reach it from here. I'll grab it. He's a maker of the fish grip back there, which we'll talk about today at some point. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ron. Tell us your background. I know some of it, but let's share with the viewers so that they have a body of knowledge or understand where your body of knowledge is coming from as we're talking today.
All right. Yeah. I'm originally from Middletown, Connecticut, enlisted in the Marines when I was 17. Went to graduate in 1989 from boot camp. I became a field radio operator. My first duty station was Okinawa. I was there about 6 weeks. My birthday is August 2nd. August 2nd, 1990, I got promoted to Lance Corporal. And it's the same day that we declared war, that President Bush declared war on Saddam Hussein. Wow. And then 20 days later, I set sail from Okinawa to the Saudi, and I spent 9 months there. And that was my first real thing in the Marine Corps. And it wasn't exciting. But moving on from there, I wanted to, I always wanted to do more and work to becoming a Recon Marine and opportunities, you have to go. Sometimes they present themselves, sometimes they, you got to take them. And it was a little bit of both, but I ended up spending, after my first enlistment, I ended up spending almost my entire career in the Force Reconnaissance community. And then, my specialty was communications, but I mean, I was still team leader, platoon sergeant. I was, breacher, jump master, armor, all those things that come along with it. And then, I was actually stationed up in Alaska, and my time was up there. I came back to Lejeune, and I was at 2nd Force Recon Company, and then we became 2nd Marine Special Operations Battalion as MARSOC was born in 2005, 2006. And you hear me okay? And so then while at MARSOC, I retired in 2010. I was ended up being the G6, the Communications Operations Chief. And during that time, I had started my own firearms instruction company. Pretty much was just taking friends from our gym, from our CrossFit gym, to the range, and they're like, hey, I want to do what you do. And I really got into competitive shooting right before I retired, just because it was fun and something to do. After I retired, I gave myself a good amount of time. I think it was about 4 months where I was just working out every day and having a good time. And then I got offered a job. I worked on one contract for a year where I was a program manager for a communications company. And then I got picked up with one of the diplomatic security companies shortly after that.
Okay. What year was that?
Say again?
When about was that?
That was 10, 11, 11 through 15.
Okay.
2011 to 14 or 15. Let's see, I had and then I was actually getting ready to go back out, and I had found a lump, and I was diagnosed with cancer at age 42, and so I couldn't leave the country. It was testicular cancer, which had led to how I got the new call sign, Instructor 1. Yeah, you don't pick your call sign, you earn it somehow. So I'll tell you and on a side note on that, if you think you got something, don't hesitate. Do not wait.
So you're saying if you have some kind of pain in your testicles or lump or anything out of the
yeah, don't think, oh, it's going to go away. And people are like, well, how'd you know? And I'll tell you, I found I was in the shower and it like brought me to my knees. Like, it was horrible. Made an appointment to the doctor. They did an ultrasound the next day and they're like, yeah, dude, this is not good. It's got to come out. So because of that process, my doctor, because testicular cancer generally hits men 18 to 36, and I was at 42, put me at high risk for other types of cancer. At the time, I was working in northern Iraq, Kurdistan, that's where Saddam had, spent years just gassing his own people, gassing the Kurds up there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there were some contributing factors that might have, enhanced my growing the cancer in my body.
Sure.
But my doctors were like, hey man, we're not comfortable with you leaving the country. You need to be US bound for about 2 years. We don't. So at that point, my wife and I were like, I was looking for an out anyway. At that point, I had been contracting 5 years. I didn't want it to be a career. It was more of something to do, and because I didn't, I wanted to be a Marine my whole life and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after. And then that just gave me a good outlet. And then, at post-retirement is when I met my wife. And, here we are. I'm not deploying. I'm pretty much a stay-at-home dad, online college student, teach firearms, everything from, soccer moms to special operators, everything from concealed carry permit courses to advanced concealed carry rifle and courses focused on the Ryker method of shooting. So that's a quick bio.
So you're totally cancer-free now, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And importantly, I made a man cub on one testicle.
That's fantastic. So. Fantastic. You have got to be at least the 10th person I've known with testicular cancer. It's very common. I lost a kid that I grew up with to it when he was only like 18, 19. A family member of mine, he had it 2 years ago. Same kind of scenario, taking a shower, scrubbing up. Oh, what's that? Waited a week or so, went to the doctor, and they're like, you should have come here like immediately. He's like thinking, mm-hmm. What's a week going to do? And they're like, kill you. Yeah, that's fantastic. It worked out the way it did. I'm glad.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because when I went to the urologist and everything like this, they're like, I'm sorry, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, I'm good. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. They're like, this is a pretty big deal. I'm like, yeah, I got it. I have 2. I'm going to be down 1. We've identified the problem. We've come up with a solution. I was like, this isn't a big deal. This isn't going to stop me. I was like, I'm not worried about this. I said, what I'm worried about is how I'm going to go home and tell my wife so she doesn't freak out.
That's a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
And apparently she handled it. You're still together. She didn't.
Well, we were actually, because we were trying to get pregnant all for about 8 months prior to this, and nothing was happening. So we actually had an appointment with one of the fertility docs in town, and I'm like, man, I got to tell her. We pull into the parking lot, and I'm like, hey babe, I forgot to tell you. Is Monday. I'm like, hey, Wednesday, I'm having surgery. I got testicular cancer. All right, let's go inside. I jump out of the car and I walk in.
Whoa. Did that start like a crazy argument or anything?
No. And she was like, oh, what? And so we went in, we talked to the doctor, and he looked right at us. He's like, he goes, you don't need to see me. He's like, 100%, that's why you haven't gotten pregnant. So then after the surgery, it took about 1.5 years to get for my body to start everything communicating and working again. And 19 months ago, we had our son. So
that's great, man.
Yeah.
Great. And in another time, it wouldn't have worked out that way. Thank God for modern medicine. That's good.
Yeah, and I got lucky, man. No chemo. It was like clip, snip, and just monitor it for every 60 days.
Wow. Okay. Any residual pain or anything like that?
No, I still got like numbness, like you normally get after you get surgery and for whatever, any body part. But no, none at all. I have found that riding a bike and climbing a rope are actually a lot easier. Just
Is
put
that
that rope.
Are you being a smartass or is it for real?
I'm being funny. I'm being smart, but yeah, it's real. Like riding a bike, those uncomfortable seats, everything just hangs to the sides, nice, streamlines you. That's why I understand why Lance Armstrong won all those races, along with the performance enhancers.
Along with the dope, sure. So you spent years as a special operations guy with the Marine Corps, and now Ryker USA is kind of your main focus.
Mm-hmm.
That's your main business focus. So you said the Ryker shooting method. Tell me about that.
So with the grip, it's a whole new concept, and we've heard everything, good, bad, people praising it, people not. But what it does is it puts your body into a more natural alignment, more into supporting the athletic stance, presenting your body and your weapon to the target. Rudy Reyes is, like my little brother. He when I introduced him to the grip, he said it best.
Together?
No, we did not. We did not. He was West Coast, and I was pretty much East Coast my whole career.
Okay.
But he said it best, and that was it's not about doing one more thing. You're doing one less thing. And the concept is that instead of traditional, methods or the thumb over that's really common, one of the issues is that you're still getting an over rotation of the elbow. You're putting a lot of stress on there, and you're also speeding up your fatigue, which is going to slow down your reaction time, your transition from target to target, or weapon systems.
Sure.
The grip, just by moving, so the grip, essentially, the Ryker method gives you the abilities of that thumb over the C clamp, whatever you want to call it, and removes all the negative. And then bringing your arm out the side, you open up the shoulder. So if you think when you're wearing body armor, reaching across, you're already starting to pinch and slow down the blood flow, start to get the tingle. That's what led me to creating it, was pain management. I had the idea for years and just sat on it, mainly because we got, and again, 25-year-old recon Marine, I didn't know about patents and, intellectual property and patent attorneys and all that process. And my buddy and I, we had created a little thing. You probably use one. You've seen those little, they go on your pistol belt, and you can put your buttstock in there with a little Velcro on them, holds it for like when you're running, fast rope and stuff like that. We were in Okinawa. We had made some out of PVC, zip ties, and foam, and they would hold our shotguns. Mm-hmm. We worked with some guys, some West Coast SEALs, and they were like, dude, that's awesome. We take some pictures. Took some pictures. Years later, I get stationed now at Lejeune. We're up in James River. We're working with one of the SEAL teams up there. And I see these guys are fast rope, and they got this nice little like Velcro thing. And I'm like, dude, where'd you get that? And they're like, oh, our buddy from the West Coast sent some pictures to the guy at London Bridge, and he's been banging these things out. And I was just like, oh, man, that was, and I was like, that's the original. I was I've got my pistol belt in a box. I still have it. But so because of that,
say that last sentence again. We got a little laggy there with our internet connection. The last thing that we had good comms on was you saying the guy from London Bridge, and then you were like,
Okay, yeah. So the SEAL was like, yeah, our buddy from London Bridge, the guys from the West Coast sent him these pictures of this, of this idea, and then he's been banging them out. And I was like, man, that's the original. And they were like, sorry, bro, but I still have that pistol belt in a box. Cool. Yeah. So, and what's really cool is we're pretty sure my son's going to be left-handed. I'm left-handed, so I've already got all his gear. But yeah, so in that process, I learned a lot, and it wasn't actually until I met Adam Slank, Fighter Design, he's down in Austin. So Adam has I don't know, he has like a dozen patents on different things. This guy thought of a way to make a ram air canopy parachute better. He made his own parachute, packed it, and jumped it to test it.
Woo!
Yeah. So,
there must have been some testing, like throwing the shit off a bridge with some like sacks of sand or something.
no, Adam was like, it's either going to work or it's not. Then that was it. But
Wow.
he helped me out a lot with understanding the process, like about it. Don't just let people know about this. There's a whole thing. So when and then I sat down with my partners, when we first started up, and the whole process was we had to sit down with a patent writer, and I've learned things that I never thought I would have learned in my life in this process leading up to the grip and the shooting. But the patent application, all that. And once we found out that we had patent pending status, then we went ahead with, production and prototyping. And then, we started getting prototype models made, some 3D ones, some homemade ones, and getting them in the hands of guys who were going down range and getting some feedback from them. Along the way, we incorporated a team of doctors. We've got McDonald, who is a really good friend of ours. He's a Recon Marine turned Navy SEAL officer, PA, most decorated SEAL officer since Vietnam.
Wow.
Great guy, great guy, very charismatic. He's actually helping us. They're writing a medical article on the grip right now, but they helped us with the concept of it because of the ergonomics and the biomechanics of it. We have Dr. Jesse Schaefer, who's hopefully I say this right. He's a PhD biomechanic physiologist, and he's also an ophthalmologist. And we have some videos up on him, and he talks about thinking about like an impact drill where it's on the side, and he goes, an impact drill would actually be made better if you rotated this because of natural body movements. And what this does is, instead of, we don't teacup a pistol. You're not going to, why would we do the same thing for a rifle? So back to what Rudy said, it's about doing one less thing. So my body position, shooting a rifle with the Ryker grip on there is in the commonality moves the same for a pistol. So I'm not doing two different things for two different weapon systems. I'm doing one less thing, which is fine. So, the Ryker method it's teaching you to shoot at a more athletic pace, put more of your protective equipment towards the threat. Upper body mobility is increased. We've actually had guys. We had a friend of ours up in Alaska wanted to support us, bought the grip, got a piece of Picatinny and screwed it onto his hunting rifle. And he says he sits in his tree stand now and he feels like a tank. He said he can just sit there and just go back and forth 180 across everything instead of sitting there in traditional ways like pinned up, and having a limited sector of fire. So, and the thing is when we made this, we're thinking, it was like, oh yeah, just put it on ARs. And then we're like, hey, let's put this on a shotgun. And then I'm going out and I'm shooting skeet with a Mossberg 500, in the grip and the recoil management. We're learning like, holy crap. And then we put it on a Scar Heavy, and then we put it on some full auto, and we're like, recoil is eliminated. We originally made it for pain management, just as something different. And that's why we involved doctors on it to help us develop it.
And this was because you had a shoulder injury? Is that?
Yes. So I've got anchor stitches in both my shoulders. I had constant partial separations. So I've had bilateral and elbow surgeries before I retired.
Okay.
Last October, I tore my left bicep tendon. And I got cleared, second week of December to start doing, overhead stuff and everything again. But, it was just pain management. Even after I retired and I got into the diplomatic, advisory role, we still had a lot of shooting. And I would always find myself coming back, to an inferior grip for pain management, coming back to the magwell, taking a softer approach just because it's like I had so much pain and, numbness going on that it was affecting it in the instant fatigue. It was affecting my ability to accurately shoot. And then all that just started leading me to, hacking things up. I've got a box full of prototypes and Frankenstein stuff and everything like that, but it's what led to this. And led us to the engineer firm that we use up in Raleigh, North Carolina. They're phenomenal. And they've helped us with everything along the way. But yeah.
Can we see it? You grab one of them. You got the Mossberg there.
Yeah. So it's ambidextrous.
Hold on one second. I'm going to grab mine because I think I've got better lighting. I'll be right back. You guys even have this highly engineered box. So if you order one, it'll come in this cool box, which super simple instructions right on the box, so you don't need to go hunting. Left side, right side.
Made it marine proof.
So as you open this thing, it's actually extremely simple. You've got an Allen wrench, and you've got the grip itself, which attaches, like Ron said, to a piece of Picatinny. So mine right now is set up for a right-handed shooter. Super easy, right? We just attach that right to the Picatinny, but what I want you guys to see with the little better lighting here, it's just how simple that is.
And then the vertical set screw, you pop that thing out, flip the grip around, and it's ambidextrous. Now you can set up for a left-handed shooter.
Is there adjustment like this at all?
Not yet. So that castle nut system is also made marine proof, so it only goes one way. Those are different size positions, so it can't go another way. That's an 80% solution is what we came up with, the angle, the pitch, and the shape of it. There are plans. We have future models. Our big thing right now we're trying to do is work through prototyping for the integrated electronics.
So I'll be able to work my light, my IR, whatever, right?
So what we're looking at is initially first version of the integrated electronics you'll have recessed connectors on the bottom, and everything will be internal, and then you can have your control buttons up here. Monetary, full on, light, laser, and then eventually in the front where your pointer finger goes, we're working at getting Bluetooth push-to-talk comms. So turning the grip into the joystick of the weapon and allowing the police officer, the federal agent, the Marine, the soldier to stay engaged on target and be able to manipulate everything without ever having to take their hand back for your shooting position, keeping them engaged on target. One of the benefits of the grip too, it's been written about. John Wayne Taylor wrote about it on the truthaboutguns.com, and he was just like, one of the things that he noticed was it eliminated fatigue. He stayed on target longer. He was taking longer shots. I've had guys who have we did a post. One guy he took a 223 meter shot up in Afghanistan, dropped a dude, 5 rounds in his chest, standing, 223 meter shot on a 10-inch rifle. He said the only reason he took that shot standing was because the grip allowed him to get that tight. So stuff like that makes us happy.
I shot it. I shot it on my base gun, which is not anything fancy. Just like they're actually like the Radian weapons are fancy, but they're not set up with any comps or any craziness like that. So I've shot it on there, and I can agree with what you're saying, just that I shoot lefty because I'm blind in this eye. So the way I'm able to pull the gun into my shoulder pocket is instantly more noticeable. But then I shot it on one of Bob Keller's signature guns, and that's just a joke. Zero. It's like a freaking pellet gun. It's amazing. So how do people find one of these to buy one?
RykerUSA.com.
Okay, so right now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. So our website, and all the links on our social media, they're there for the website. But it's easy on Ryker's RYKER USA.com. We're in like 15 stores across the country. West Whitlock, Rogue American Apparel. They were our first official together at his Austin store and his Fort Bragg store.
It was downtown down at the store last time I was down there. I saw it. That's the first time I think I saw the display that was in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so Wes has them. I know Ventura Munitions out in Vegas. They've got them, and there's a handful of others. I don't, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody that's carrying our grip.
Yeah.
We have and he answered, and we'll actually have a list on the website soon of all of the dealers that you can go to and check out the grip to see if if it's for you. The thing, it's not just for ARs. Anything that has side mounting capabilities. And one of the things that we say is the higher the caliber and full auto, you instantly are made aware of the benefit of the grip. We've had numerous people contact us who've got multiple injuries. We have a guy out in Colorado who's got cerebral palsy, and he loves competitive shooting, but he's not, he's always been limited, because of his disease. He said the grip has allowed him to actually be a competitor now.
Wow.
We have Alpha Addy, our first official sponsor shooter, 9-year-old girl down in Texas. And Alpha Addy just got picked up with F1 after the NRA show. Addy took 60 seconds off her time, and the only thing she did different was put the grip on, because she's tiny and it was hard for her to hold that rifle. She put the grip on. She took 60 seconds off her time.
Is there one size right now?
It's one size. It's one size. One of the things that we wanted, like I said, that's an 80%, in the design process, that's an 80% solution.
Okay.
One of the things that we are looking at is very similar to like on the Glocks and the MMPs, the adjustable back straps. We're hoping that in the near future, we'll get, a small, medium, and large that you can put on here to make it beefier. So that way we don't have to make a whole new mold. You don't have to make a whole new grip. You just make that attachment that'll clip right on.
I just was thinking of a little kid, or a woman with more diminutive hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the one question that I've heard showing this to people is, well, what do I do when I transition from strong hand?
So I love this. So depending on how you have your gun set up, you would do the same thing that you would do normally. You're just going to put it on over. I don't want this to come off as I am anti-rifle transition. But my first shooting package is, in early 90s, and we ran MP5s. We didn't train that we didn't shoot this and do this to make entry into a room. We entered into rooms, we entered into hallways, we entered into buildings with speed, surprise, and violence of action. And the aggressiveness and that mindset, just taking the fight to the threat, and psychologically breaking them down, we never thought about that. Now we did train pistol that way. That was in our qualification and everything like that. We did train both hands pistol, because that's just more as a secondary. And that's giving you the ability to do multiple things. You can engage targets, you can drag somebody, or you might be wounded, you can still fight. But so we haven't, that's my mentality on that. I will teach that in a lot of my rifle classes, but I don't spend a lot of time on it, because I'm a firm believer that when you're in it and you're defending, you're fighting, I don't think that you're going to be taking the time to actually change, take the sling off, change, go back and come back. It is important to know how to shoot your weapon with both hands and understand what your body does and understand, how you see things. So that's my soapbox on that. But the thing is what do I do when I shoot support side? Well, how long are you shooting support side?
Right.
You shoot support side for something to get you a better angle around a car, underneath, around cover, something like that, moving into a room. You move into that room, you secure that room, you're going to go right back to your strong side. So it's a temporary thing. So to me, I just try it,
You're looking at it that this is setting you up for the way that you work and carry the gun, use it in that position, and it's increasing the shootability from that position you're going to be in 99% of the time.
Yes.
Wrong side. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's kind of what I figured you'd say. I just wanted to hear you say it.
One of the things too is we had a team of PhD statisticians, and we have a 96-round course of fire that measures speed and accuracy. And in this course of fire, it's random. We flip a coin to see which you go grip, no grip first. And in the course of fire, the grip edges out without the grip by a lot. You do get faster on this drill because it's a repetitive movement. You do get faster on the course of fire. Center, left, right, center, right, left. You get faster without the grip, but the grip remains faster. But the accuracy with the grip on that course gets tighter. So your accuracy is maintained or improved, and you are faster. We had we tested 25 random people, random backgrounds, from special ops, military, competitive shooter, and beginners. And there was, it was like, I think a 23% average, 23% increase in speed.
Wow.
23% faster on a random group of 25 people.
That's heavy duty.
Yeah.
What's this cost?
Online is $74.99. I know if you guys go and register your email on the website, you get a 10% discount code that pops up there. Okay. And we're hoping that when we go for the next mod and everything like that, we're actually going to be able to lower the price. I don't have a date on when we're doing that, but as we make more advances, we're going to try to be, I guess, just help the end user as much as we can.
Sure. It looks very well made. The packaging alone is probably worth $70.
Yeah, so we wanted to be different. We didn't want to look like everything else on the market. It's a whole new method of shooting. It's where we're at with the ATF right now to see if it's legal for AR pistols. We should have had our answer. We're at. They tell you when you do the process for them to go through and do the review. We were told this, hey, 90 days. Calls back 90 days. We called back at 92 days, and they're like, it's still under review. We're at like 180 days now. So we're hoping to hear. They told us that we would hear something in the first 2 weeks of May. And that's really like, one of the things that we're waiting on right now.
Sounds like some bullshit.
I think all the active shooter events that we've had haven't helped. Now the contact we had with them, the department head said that they have 4 other products that they're reviewing. None of them are related or similar. So the thing that they have with us is that this isn't a traditional vertical grip. The category, because we're first to market on the side, the category is the Ryker. You there? Yeah. Okay. So the category is the Ryker grip.
Give me a second. I want to check my internet connection.
Okay.
See if there's something I've got going on. So the idea is these are going to get passed, you were saying, through ATF, so we can all, it's so nonsensical to me that we even have to have these kinds of discussions with a federal agency. But once that happens, you'll be able to sell them to a broader market. Or right now, I didn't even think about that, whether or not I could legally put them onto my AR pistol.
Yeah, so we get, I woke up to an email this morning asking about it. And 2 days ago, I had a direct message on Instagram asking, hey, is it legal for the pistol yet? Since we've launched, that is the one question. What's up?
I'm listening to you. I'm answering it like, I don't know, but
Yeah, that's the one question we've gotten every single week, multiple times. Can I put it on my AR pistol? So the answer is it's gray. It's not legal. It's not illegal. They don't, and that's what we're waiting on the ruling to see what they say. So hopefully it's in our favor.
You should just say, I don't know, can you?
Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah, and then more bureaucracy. Then we submitted our paperwork for State Department and all that, so we can be legal to sell overseas. We've got a bunch of overseas companies like military, law enforcement, and then retailers that want to carry the grip. So
okay,
we're trying to stay above board. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to get on anybody's radar that we don't need to be on. And so we're just, things are slow in the government. Nothing's fast.
Sure.
Except for when they want money.
Not a good excuse, though. I've seen a lot of you've done a good job of getting it into the hands of a lot of people. Like when I was down, I was actually hunting near Wes and Clark Impastato. He had one, and I saw the one that was in the store, and so I know you've done a good job of passing it around. I'm gonna put one on one of my shotties and try that after you talked about that. I've got a few shotguns. I'm gonna try that. Looks like fun. Let's talk a little bit about your training company. So Ryker USA, you guys are based over near Wilmington.
I'm Wilmington. We're a North Carolina-based company. My partners are out towards Raleigh. But yeah.
So you have a website, RykerUSA.com.
Yes.
How do people find out about classes, things like that?
So what we're doing is we're transitioning the Instructor One website over to the Ryker stuff. We're bringing all the training stuff underneath the Ryker umbrella.
Okay.
This doesn't make sense to manage 2 pages and, we're doing the same thing. So right now what we do is we really just do social media. Whenever I'm running a class locally, I travel to put on training. I don't have problems with that. I love doing that. But my local range is about 40 minutes south of Wilmington and about 40 minutes north of Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
It's absolutely a gorgeous facility. It's a private club, and I'm fortunate that I'm one of like 2 or 3 other members that they allow to run private instruction there. I got into it, and I feel that I've gotten every class. Like I like to tell people, like my periods of instruction, they're written in pencil because they're constantly changing. And it doesn't matter if it's my concealed carry permit, my basic pistol class, or my advanced stuff. I'm constantly, taking notes in the course and seeing something or understanding like I need to teach this better. I need to remove this. The application's not there. Just work on it.
I can appreciate that. I do that myself, and I think sometimes I used to look at that like, oh man, people are going to think ill of me because like, why is he changing his stance on stuff? And I try to explain to people like, you learn new information, you see something that's better, faster, more foolproof, whatever. So that's a nice way of saying it, the way you described it there.
Yeah, it's I want to, even though I'm retired. People ask me all the time, like, "Hey, man, do you miss it?" And I honestly, I miss it. I wish I was 17 so I could do it all over again. 17 with present knowledge, but and then also mainly because God, the equipment they got now in the military is, I grew up and learned everything on Vietnam era equipment to include the weapons. Mm-hmm. So, but I want to, where I'm at, I have the ability to pass on, the 25 plus years of training and deployments and experience, to the community I live in. I'm all about, obviously I'm a Second Amendment guy, but I do, value that is one of our birthrights. And if the state mandates that you have to take a course and you have to do this to carry concealed, I want to put out a good product.
Sure.
A lot of guys, and it's comforting to know that the Department of Justice will find classes and they'll send a mole out there to see if somebody's doing basically a half-assed class.
Sure.
And there's so many guys that are like, "Hey man, give me $50. Here's your book. Here's a certificate. Read the book. Tell them we did all the things. You're good." I won't do that. My name goes on that certificate, and if I ever called into court, because you will be, if somebody I've taught has North Carolina is a castle law state, and you have justified self-defense, justified self-defense shooting, and I'm called into court, I can confidently say, like, yes, like I trained to this standard. This person knew that. I have to keep document, I have to keep their test, and I have to keep a picture of their target for 18 months. I just have a file that I take pictures after each class, and I just put it in that file and just save it.
I actually physically fold our targets up here. Our laws are different, but I'm not obligated to keep them, but I fold them up and I write the date for the whole class, rubber band them, and put it in bankers boxes. That way, if I, if in a couple of years from now, I can just toss the whole bankers box in a fire, but I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, is it a job? Is it a hobby? I enjoy shooting. I enjoy teaching, like one of the things bouncing around, but when I was stationed in Alaska, one of the things that I valued, I got to do two things. One thing I wanted to do, one thing I didn't know anything really about. And one was I got to be a Pop Warner football coach. I coached the same team for 3 years. And then I deployed. I went to Yemen for over a year. And then came back, and then I started working towards, rotating back to Camp Lejeune. The other thing I did up there is I ran choice or tots for the entire state. So both of these things were some of the most rewarding things I've gotten to do in my life with giving back and influencing kids. And I was actually having one of my best friends, and he's retired. He's a recon baby, Andre Bozier. He's really getting into. He's a West Coast guy. But we were talking about this the other day, and because he's been a football coach for 5 years out there in San Diego. I had 5 kids that I had trained that I had for 3 years became Marines. 2 of them joined the Air Force.
Wow.
And and I ran into them and everything, and they reached out to me and stuff like that. Like, hey man, I joined because of you. So that, in having that influence and being able to give back and teach. And then one of the other things that I did, I had a part-time job in Alaska, and
go back. You said you had a part-time job.
I had a part-time job. I was a youth ski instructor when I was stationed in Alaska. So I'm really just, and it's funny is I learned a lot about teaching people through skiing. So teaching people how to ski, because there's so many things going on. And what I found was it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 85, if you're starting something new like skiing, everybody learns the same. So I kind of take that same approach to firearms and, and marksmanship instruction. I developed finesse over the years. I've got a lot of my buddies like, dude, I want to do this. I'm getting out. I'm going back to Ohio, Iowa, whatever. I want to do this. This is fun. And I was like, the first thing you need to understand is you cannot talk to these people like they're Marines. I was like, you have to, you're going to get questions. You're going to get muzzle swept. You're going to get all these things, and you got to control what you can control. And hopefully that your instruction is received well enough where you prevent, a mishap on the range. But you got to learn how to talk to people that are paying you for something. It's not a qualification. And getting guys to understand that it's a big thing. So then that's when it's just back to what I was saying before is I feel like I have a duty to put out a good product, to put out quality, to support my community. So I don't ever want someone to go around and be like, yeah, so-and-so taught me this. And it's absolutely, ridiculous. I don't ever want that, to be put in that position. But
I think that your comments about the molding of the youth is something lost on many men today. Like, I don't have time for that, or maybe it doesn't even dawn on them that it's something that's part of their duty as a citizen to, you know what I mean? They're just too selfish or self-absorbed, too myopic a view of the world around them. So that's hugely important. I have a teacher I grew up with. I haven't seen him since I was in grade school, but he had an effect like that on me. The way that he communicated, he instilled in you belief in yourself. The way he communicated and carried himself, you thought, okay, and he was like a middle-aged guy from Central Michigan at the time, just had a great attitude, and you absorb that stuff. So I think that's hugely important, for sure.
Yeah.
in the civilian world, learning to shoot guns, same thing. You take that same stuff and pass it on where it's not. I'm always telling students, like, yeah, we're here learning to shoot guns, but the big thing is we're learning not like I'm some oracle of truth, but we're like, let's work on being better human beings so we don't need these things to kill people or shoot people. Let's figure out how we can, through our words, de-escalate situations and not just make it all about being macho, tough guy, shoot 'em up bullshit, which, if it comes to that, yes, by all means, I want you to be a stone cold badass that can press the trigger and make bullets appear where you need them to. But there's a lot more involved than just that, I think. My personal.
I completely agree. It's as you get to know me, you'll realize, get to know me better. You realize that I am a big, I love being entertained. I'm a big movie guy and I'm a big sports guy.
Okay.
And I use one of the things that I have found is people that come to my class, they're nervous, they want to learn something. They're definitely out of their comfort zone. They're out of their element. So they're very fragile. So you try to find that common ground. So I find a lot that when I do sports analogies and I relate shooting to different types of sports and movements or things that you've seen in a movie, to let them know, like, hey, like, I love Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2. I think the movies are hilarious. And I tell everybody, and everybody's like, I was like, you seen Bad Boys 2? Most everybody's like, yes. And I was like, that scene in the beginning with the Haitians, the garage, and then they end up in this like gunfight in the middle of the street, and Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are hiding behind a mailbox, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, movie's over. They're all dead. Everybody's dead. That just as like Taken, the one with Liam Neeson when he's driving around that camp that got the sex trafficking going on. He's dead. He's in a thin-skinned pickup with a 4-cylinder engine. He's dead. Like, movie's over. And I say, so I use that to let people understand, like, the gravity of when you do that, but trying to loosen them up and trying to get them thinking, like, don't believe everything I see, like these, and stuff like that. And just hit them with a different approach, on it. But what I was thinking about with that was, Steven Seagal's Hard to Kill. One of the things that he said, he comes out of the coma and he gives that list to Kelly LeBrock and he's like, go get me all this stuff. And she's like, how'd you learn all this? He's like, my first master told me, he says, before you know how to hurt people, you got to know how to heal people. And as cheesy as Seagal is, that one line, I've never forgotten that. And he's right.
You probably have a poster of him in the room.
No. If there's a poster, it's of Tom Brady. I'm just saying.
I am probably the least sports guy you've ever met. Like, I went to my first Bears game a few years ago, and I live in Chicagoland here. A buddy of mine home on leave. It was one of the years, a few years back, that the Bears made it to the playoffs. They were playing the Packers, which is right here in Wisconsin. And it was like 25 below zero. February, so outside. So, it was like a lovely first experience. I mean, I grew up, my dad's a sports nut, but I don't know. I always just think like men in tights running around. I like fishing, hiking, guns, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So you've got a big poster of Steven Seagal. Is it young, thin, with the tight jeans, Steven Seagal?
White beater, ponytail.
Jeans, or is it the old, overweight Steven Seagal?
Where all the posters are like from here up.
Somebody just sent me a YouTube video of him the other day. He was in Japan or somewhere in Asia. Yeah. And he had all the guys running up to him, and he's throwing, and they're like going like 15 feet flying, and it's like.
And he gets a standing ovation.
Yeah, and he bowed. Like 30 times, and it's like, okay, well, I know that it was an exercise of the Aikido, but if any one of them just like walked up and with any purpose tried to strike him, it would have been, yeah. So I don't know why you worship him. It's weird. That was a good movie.
Yeah. I'll tell you the one that I love, and my wife, she's she'll come in and she'll be like, "Are you serious? You seriously watching this again?" It's John Wick. I watch John Wick and John Wick 2 probably at least once a month. I
Really?
love the movie. Yeah, I love the movie. The first time I watched John Wick, I was like, "This is entertaining." Then I watched, I was like, "That was actually kind of good." And just trying to find flaws. It took, it was about the 20th time I saw John Wick, the first one. I found the flaw in the movie. He's Baba Yaga. He had no home security system. I mean, that was the flaw. But anyway, no, I love movies.
Now, is it a flaw or is it a chink in the armor that you would exploit?
Well, I think if you go deep into the story and you think about, he left that life, he created this new life, and he wanted to feel that he didn't need that. He thought he had left that behind, so it wasn't something that was necessary. But then it came back. So
I got a brother in the movie business, and it's always funny to me. Like, people will post on social media, like, "Where's a gun?" People will post some picture of like Ron Holmes, CIA operative, and it shows you holding the gun like this. So then, like, somebody will post the picture of like the movie cover, and they're like, "That's total bullshit." And it's like, well, it's not bullshit. Like, first of all, CIA's not that awesome. Second of all, who cares? Maybe that's how Ron Holmes, the CIA operative, wants to hold his gun. And third of all, it's a movie. It's not real. It's a movie. It's some director, writer, producers creating a fairy tale to make our evening go by, so that we I like movies too. I'm a big movie fan, but it's always kind of funny how people do that. Like, bullshit. I call bullshit movie, man. It's like a play. It's like when your kid has a play at school. Like, that's not a real tree. That's Timmy wrapped up in paper mache. Like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be real.
Like, people who get mad at, like, the Batmans and the Avenger movies, they're like, "Oh, it was dumb." I was like, how is it dumb? It's a movie that's based on a comic book that's now brought to life. I mean, that's awesome. It reminds me of the Louis C.K. skit where he talks about cell phones, and people are like, "Oh, this is stupid," and he's like, "Your phone isn't stupid. Your phone can talk to space. You didn't have this 10 years ago." He's like, "You're stupid."
That's a pretty good look at like the human condition. That's like when you're on an airplane. I do not complain on airplanes, and it's not because I don't complain, but it's like, you hear people like, it's hot, it's cold. I had to wait an extra 20 minutes for the plane to take off. Like you just said, you're in a metal tube that is flying at the speed of sound to the edge of space, and you get to watch movies, listen to music, drink coffee and champagne while flying in a chair at the edge of space at the speed of sound, and then you come back to Earth after being 7 miles up, and you land, and you're pissed off that the guy flying it made you wait an extra 20 minutes, or the person next to you smelled like curry or garlic. Who gives a shit? You're a spaceman for 3 years.
Yeah.
We have a weird sense of the way people view things like that. My phone. That's pretty amazing. Like, Tesla himself wouldn't have envisioned they work the way that they do. You got a encyclopedia. I mean, we could probably look up here how to remove Ron's pancreas and figure out how to do it, and sort it out. Right?
It's like I tell people, like, "Hey, how do you do this?" And I was like, I have many degrees from the University of YouTube. Like, I need to make that a shirt. University of YouTube in the logo.
That's the fun thing when people are. I get a lot of messages from folks that say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I never attended one of your courses. I can't afford to, or geographically it hasn't made sense, but I've learned a lot." I appreciate that. That's why the stuff's out there. But there's so many people that will send me messages that say, "How do you hold a pistol?" And it's like, you haven't even spent 5 damn minutes not 5 damn minutes just to go on my website or your website or whoever's and see, the stuff's all out there if you want to look for it.
Yeah.
Like if you trust me enough that you're going to ask me the question, why didn't you just click in my YouTube channel and take a peek? I wouldn't. That's a little too simple to do that. I'm going to ask you instead. I'm a big fan of trying to force people to be self-aware and responsible for themselves instead of just like making the excuses and waiting for
being lazy.
Yeah, being lazy. I can't stand lazy people, man.
Yeah.
I can't. I cannot stand it. When we were together in North Carolina a couple months ago, after that class, everybody dipped out and left the instructors to clean up their spit bottles and lunch wrappers and that kind of stuff. Like that drives me nuts. All right, I know what kind of person you are now. Lazy.
Yeah.
What is your if you could codify or describe Ron's philosophy for life, what would it be?
You know what? Muhammad Ali said something, and he said a lot of things, but one of the things Muhammad Ali said something along the lines of, if you're the same man at 45 that you were at 25, you've wasted your life.
That makes sense.
I tell you, I'm getting ready to be 47, and my son's 19 months old, and it's so my philosophy on things is it's changing every single day as I watch my son grow. I have a bunch of books. I'm sure as you do that, I've read and listened to over the years, and I constantly do. I go back. One of my most favorite books is obviously is Art of War, is the Book of Five Rings. The Art of Happiness. The Art of Happiness is a book that was introduced to me when I was going through my transition and retirement, and it's written by the Dalai Lama, and it's not about being a Buddhist, but it's about Buddhist principles in everyday living. And it helped me, not that I was broken, but it helped right my ship. It helped give me a little cardinal direction and get me starting to think a little bit differently. And and then there's another book that I absolutely love that I've now listened to 4 times. It's The Rise of Superman, and it talks about flow state and how they develop superhuman abilities, like special operators, like superior athletes, like X Games athletes. And it's funny is that everything that the way I used to think, it was almost inward or one-dimensional about me. And I've been listening to these books again, and I'm hearing them in a just completely different fashion, because I'm no longer listening to them for me. I'm listening to them as to how I'm going to, back to what you said, how I'm going to mentor and develop my son in being, to being a good citizen, to being a contributing member of society, to be a patriot, and I'm now Musashi teaching my son the Book of Five Rings, and so it's be a good person. Don't be afraid to fail. Own it. We all make mistakes.
What's a good person to you?
I like to think that it takes work. I don't think that it's just naturally, one of the sayings that I learned from working with Rotaries when I was doing Toys for Tots was service before self. Having the ability to put personal feelings aside for the greater good of something. Think about in close quarters, like in the military, in law enforcement. I've been in platoons and teams with peers and leaders who I absolutely despise. To this day, I don't really, I just wouldn't associate with them outside of work. But it's still my brother. And if he was shot, I would still help him. I would still drag him I would still save his life. I would still do what I can to protect him. I would lay down my life for him, even though we're not on that level. Mm-hmm. And that's about that's that higher calling. That's that thing about, just putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, not being afraid, and continuing to do a thankless job. Do something for somebody that you'll never be repaid for. And being okay with that.
I like that. How does one get to the point where they're okay with that? Because I think a lot of people get embittered when they feel they're not thanked or shown the respect or gratitude that they feel that they deserve, or they may say like, yeah, I don't want to thank you, but that's easier said than done. How do you kind of develop that?
I think the first word is failure. Is understanding that failure is not bad. Failure is awesome. Failure, it teaches you. It teaches you how to get better. It teaches you, it provides a path to a solution to fix the problem. You know, understanding that, learning to understand that failure it's not a zero defect thing. Just because I failed at this, you know, and it's hard for a lot of people. The first time that we've talked, I was married before. I failed. The one thing that, I held marriage my parents, they're in their 70s. They're still married. My wife's parents, they're late 60s. They're still married, and it's awesome. And when I had gotten married the first time, I obviously married the wrong person, but when the marriage fell apart, it was at that point in my life and in my career, it was the first time I had failed. And it was devastating. And it's like it takes time. You have to understand you've got to learn how to repair yourself. I've never really had any, substance abuse issues like with alcohol. Alcohol has never controlled me. Like I've drank, I could not touch. I've gone through phases where I haven't touched, booze for a year and a half. It doesn't bother me. And then I've had I've gone on like 3 months, just like, woo, partying every weekend, whatever. It doesn't control me. It's just something that
weekend. That's like, that's weekend.
But, so I think like you have to, through failure, you have to have self-awareness. You have to be able to, have the intestinal fortitude, the moral courage to look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm an asshole. I screwed up. I can't do that again. I can't talk to people like that. I can't act like this. None of us are without fault. I screw up every day, but I'm learning from it, and now it's like my screw ups now the ripple effect is my son is observing everything, and I know this because he comes into the bathroom, he climbs up on the edge of the tub, reaches up and grabs my deodorant and puts it under his shirt and starts doing what Dad's doing. So I'm just like, and my wife's telling me, my wife she double mastered. She used to be a teacher, and she's got her master's in childhood development and childhood psychology. So with my son, I pretty much do what I'm told. And she's just like, look, you can't do these things. You can't do this, that, and the other. And so I'm trying to process that too. So I want to be that good person. I want my son to look at me and be like, I don't need him to look at me and be like, yeah, my dad's my best friend. I just need him to look at me like that's my dad. And I want to set the good example, and I want him to see these things, so self-awareness, failure. I think failure is probably failure and pain are the best instructors you could ever have in your life. Through those, you learn. And there's things that I wish that I had done differently. I don't want to say regret, because I think that's not the right word, because the things that I went through that, I like to call the dark ages, I dipped in, I always think of like the reference of Excalibur, when Arthur, when Guinevere went away to the convent and Sir Lancelot, went off, became a monk or whatever in the woods. And then the whole kingdom started to die, and they went into the dark ages, and then it was reborn again. So it's like you go through phases in your life, like back to that Muhammad Ali quote. When I was 25, I was phenomenal. I was a phenomenal athlete. I was aggressive. I was a Force Recon Marine in a team, and I was a dickhead. I was just a cocky little SOB, just like everybody else in the team. Walked around like, but you're in that warrior culture. You have to live like that. You have to be like, you're bulletproof. Your mentality is like, I am bulletproof. I will run into gunfire and I will smoke everybody and I will not have a scratch on me. Like, that's your mentality. Now you have to learn as you get older and you're still doing the same things, but things hurt more and you're slower.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn that switch. You have to learn that balance, that on and off. You have to learn to turn off. You have to understand when you walk away. So one of the things that helped me in my transition when I retired is it was important for me to do something that made me laugh every day. And I kind of got that from the Art of Happiness, where it's you receive back from the universe what you put out. And if I'm putting out laughter and I'm putting out happiness, whether it's something stupid that I saw, like some cat video on Facebook, or you're watching Billy Madison for the 900th time, but it still makes me laugh. It's like I'm putting that positive effect out into the universe.
Sure.
Getting a little hippie.
That's old school stuff, man. I mean, that's been known for eons. The Bible even talked about it. I think the scripture that comes to mind, I was a pastor's kid, so this stuff is in my brain regardless. A merry heart doeth good like medicine. That was the passage. Laugh, but it's good for you. I think it was Norman Vincent Peale, the author from the 60s, talks about, if you're having a down day, just smile. And you can't like not be pissed and just smile. And you're like, they did a study back in the day, long before all of this kind of communication existed, of people that were making sales calls on phones. This was like in the 50s that they did this study. And they found that the people making the calls that were smiling on the other end of the phone as they were talking to the potential customer had way more sales than the person that just wasn't even cognizant of it. And you're like, well, how can that be? You can't see the smile, but it changed the vocal inflection. It probably changed the cadence of how they spoke. It probably changed a lot of things. So being happy or striving to be laughing, that's good stuff. Mm-hmm. Best times my wife and I have are laughing. When we met, we would watch movies, tell jokes, whatever, have a bottle of wine and just be laughing our ass off sitting by a campfire. So that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Do you and your wife, do you guys enjoy each other's jokes and such like that?
So one of my wedding vows to her was, I promise I will always laugh at your jokes, even though I'm funnier. And
so everybody's like, man, he's a dick.
Yeah. So, but it's funny. Is our sense of humors are different. And my wife's 10 years younger than me, so there are some generational things. Like, I put on some music from the 80s and she's like, what are you listening to? And I'm like, you kidding me? This is like 15 years old for me. This is awesome. She's like, this is horrible. But no, we have so many similar things and we laugh. And then it's funny is the things that make her laugh. And it's just when she starts laughing, it makes me laugh, because I love seeing her that happy. I love seeing her just like something affected her where she's just got tears in her eyes. She's laughing so hard. So yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that kind of makes all the other nonsense non-existent.
Yes.
I thought you were going to give me a kiss or something there for a minute. You got some. We still got to get a class set up down there by you at your range that we talked about last month. I started telling people I plan to come down that way, and then I stopped. We haven't sorted it out, so we got to make that happen.
Yeah, we can do that. I actually, and I'm not trying to put cart before the horse, but there's a new TV show or outdoor channel coming, and I think they're announcing it like in a week or so. But my buddy who runs Pipe Hitter Media, and it's like an Emmy award-winning company, we are doing a 7-episode show.
Cool.
23 or 30 minute, series. And it's pretty much what we want it to be. So we're doing something different. We don't want to do just another shooting video series, this and that. We're doing something different. We're going to be doing vehicle stuff. We're doing medical stuff. I've already talked to Joel, bringing D-Day on to do it. We're working on doing building assessments, active shooter things and everything, quick points, showing people how to just, and in what you said before, how you talk to your students. It's not about being macho. It's not about getting in the gunfight. It's about before the gunfight. It's about after the gunfight. So just trying to show, and not everybody out there is into guns, and that's fine. You don't like guns, don't buy one. I support it. I don't like Kias, so I won't buy one. Right. So, with that, we're trying to do something a little bit different, bring awareness, but also not alienate people who don't carry guns or understand guns. Trying to bring them into the fold and teach them about, preparedness and preparation. It's funny is this, I've September 20th, I graduate. I'll have earned my degree in Homeland Security, Emergency Management, and Criminal Justice. Awesome. And the four FEMA principles are mitigation, preparation, preparedness, response, and recovery. And learning that and then thinking about things that are similar. Why I like the degree path I chose is very similar to what I did in the Marine Corps, but it's a different side. So instead of 5-paragraph order, you have all these different formats to follow. And again, it's much larger scale, but I can, you take that concept, for the individual, for the homeowner, and mitigate, control what you can control. Mm-hmm. And your environment, do you have fire extinguishers in your house? Do you have med kits in your house? In the little Band-Aid pack from Costco, that's not a med kit, that's Band-Aids. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? If you have a med kit, have you opened it? Have you inspected it? Do you know how to use everything that's in that med kit? Have you done what you need to do to keep your family safe? Is your house set up? Do you practice a fire drill? What is your vehicle like? What is your EDC? What's your everyday carry when you go to work? What are you wearing? And it's not about carrying a gun. Your EDC is your briefcase, your courier bag, your backpack, your car, your cup of coffee. What is your flow? What is your routine that you go through every morning? And all that. So then, so the mitigation goes into preparedness. What are, the mitigation is mitigating, what are the perceived threats? Control what you can control. Preparation, making all those things. The response, something happens. Now you're going back to your preparation phase, pulling on that equipment, and your recovery, how you recover from the incident, but then how you recover and reset for at the beginning. Almost like, you can see my old license plate, OODA loop. Almost just like the OODA loop. So
I just finished a 6-month course of study on Colonel Boyd.
Nice.
So many people talk about the OODA loop like it's some 1-paragraph discussion, not knowing that initial brief that he would give to generals and colonels took him 4 to 5 days just to explain the overview of what it was all about. So I like that. Yeah. Yeah. And what's interesting, you probably know this or will appreciate this, at a Air Force colonel's funeral, an Air Force colonel who without him, we'd have no F-16, we'd have no F-15, we'd have no F-18, we'd have no A-10s. That was all his doing. He redesigned the whole way that America pays for shit. Literally behind the scenes, he was so sick of waste that him and his group revamped how the Pentagon was able to purchase things that had to be done in the light of day, where before, back in the 50s and 60s, it was guys smoking cigars, taking families on vacation, and that's how purchasing was made. Anyway, not one Air Force officer at his funeral, but his casket was carried by Marines because they so adopted his teachings for preparedness and combat. And the Air Force hated him because the brass, he was constantly shoving it up their ass. But cool to see that. Yeah. I couldn't read it all earlier with that pistol butt back there. So this TV show, people that have Outdoor Channel will be able to see it once you guys get it produced?
Yeah, so it's a whole new network. It's going to be a new name. I don't know what the official name of the network is going to be, but it's not even on there yet. So they're trying to build up. They're taking over an existing market. They're taking over an existing platform and revamping it.
Cool.
But it's going. I don't know that. I know it'll be on cable, and I know it'll be available like on an app online.
So you're still months away from people being able to go view this stuff.
I think they're hoping that the first episode is going to air like September, October.
Okay.
We start filming in July, first week of July, first week of August, and then we'll figure out what we're doing from there. So now it's just like coordination for that. But no, that's exciting, being part of that. And, and Alan came to me because we have a good relationship. He's a Marine. He actually, just let you know what he does is, you remember the Marine Raider, the Memorial March from Florida to Camp Lejeune?
Mm-hmm.
His company, they're the ones that did that documentary. He's one of the sponsors of that event. They're getting ready to do that again.
Very good.
So he's constantly giving back. He does a lot of work with Phil Noblin's organization, Brother in Arms Foundation. And I know Phil and Wes do a lot together, and Steve Ryker is a big part of that organization. Steve Ryker started T1G. He actually lives here. He's been instrumental in helping Ryker USA develop. He's helped us out a lot. But so we're excited. It's not really going to be a shooting show. It's just going to be a common sense approach to how, like the world has changed. One of the things that, assignments I get in school is, what was the impact 9/11 had? And I was like, the terrorists won. The terrorists won. 100%. They won that battle. They changed our way of life. They changed everything we have done up until that point. Everything has changed. And it wasn't just a temporary thing. No, it's not only has it changed forever, but it's continuing on a path of constant surveillance and, constant, detection and paranoia. So one of the other things that I learned, this is interesting. From the first of the year to March 18th, there was an average of one active shooter a week.
That's crazy.
Now they weren't all reported. They weren't all like, big news like Florida.
Studies. I think the FBI's definition of an active shooter like that is they have an active shooter and mass shooting, which basically means more than one person has been shot or shot at. But yeah, it's crazy. When you didn't hear about that shit.
Yeah, so it's like when I was writing that assignment, and I did forget that was one mass shooting a week on a school campus. So it's this is the world we live in. And if you don't have a plan, you can't walk around with blinders on. we got too many zombies as it is already. Just walk around like this. We have we call it the Loop here. It's like 2.25 miles down at Wrightsville Beach, and Thursday's our rest day from the gym. So we go and we walk our dog. We walk the Loop every Thursday morning, and we're walking today, and it gets kind of busy. And there's this girl just walking, headphones in, walking down the sidewalk, not really looking. I think just looking down at the ground while she's typing. And I yell at my wife. I'm like, "Zombie!" And she had to go around this chick because this chick was just like
totally
not even just in her phone, like walked right by, never even picked her head up, and or they don't soft target is kind of how I see that, and that's society. That's the world we live in. That is the world we live in. When I was doing homework last night, I had NFL Network on, and they were following Shaq Khan Barkley and Chubb, the defensive end from NC State. And I was just sitting there, and they were following the running back from Penn State, and they were down at Gatorland down in Florida. And the guy was like, come on, teach him how to feed a gator. And the guy's sitting there talking to him, telling him about what he needs to do with the gator. And the dude was like, like not present at all. And he's getting ready to go and give a steak to a friggin' alligator.
Yeah.
Like, be present, be present. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to, I think I'm pretty good at that, but even when I'm with friends or family, I try to leave my phone in the truck if we're out to dinner or if I'm at the house. It's like, it becomes habitual, but then people, like I've heard people say, what's it bothering me? Or why is that bothering you? It's not bothering me that you're on your phone. It's bothering me, besides the rudeness, inconsiderate factor, you are totally unaware of what's going on right now. Like you said, somebody could walk up and do anything they want to you. Well, I would fight back after you've been hit in the face, or the first thing you realize is, oh, there's a gun pointing at me. Shit. And or you rear end somebody. I've been rear ended. I drive a lot, so the odds of me being hit are pretty high, just the amount of time I'm on the road. I've been rear ended like 5 times, just because, and it's almost always, I'm so sorry. I just got hit 2, 3, 4 months ago, and the guy was, his airbag deployed. It was a delivery van. His airbag deployed and broke his phone over his face. I was like, oh, instant karma.
Oh, man.
They tried to lie and say the brakes gave out on the van. It was like, no, you have like an iPhone print on your face. He admitted it later, but people do that kind of crap all the time. It is,
airbags hurt.
Yeah,
airbags hurt. And it's funny that you say that, because it's like one of the things, and you see it, like, this is a beach town. You see it all the time. Passengers got their feet on the dashboard, feet hanging out, and I'm like, and I tell my wife, I was like, look at that. I said, they got into an accident right now, and that airbag deployed. They're going to kill themselves. Their knees are getting thrown into their face.
Right.
Like their legs become a projectile.
Yeah, broken.
I talk about, and I talk about in my advanced concealed carry class about how to set your vehicle up and how to defend to and from your vehicle and everything like that. But talk about keeping things, like you saw how I set my door up. Remember, with the Pelican phone. So I'm doing what I can to mitigate projectiles. Try to keep everything out of the front, because those airbags go off. It's whatever's in its way.
Secondary projectiles. You're talking about things in your vehicle flying around, and yeah. Actually, the first times that I gave first aid on the side of the road, I was 15 years old in a tree stand, and on a country road there was a collision. I watched it like 1/8 of a mile out of my tree stand. This was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And the lady had a mason jar, a big quart mason jar, that was in the back window of her car. And this was a pretty violent accident. 3 cars. Her car was totaled. It was like a Suburban. She pulled out in front of a Suburban that was doing like 60. So it made her car go spinning around. And her son that was with her is freaking out because of the amount of blood. But that jar hit her in the back of the head and just busted her head apart. But, like, why would you put a 1-pound chunk of hard glass at head floating around? Yeah, I'm with you, man. That's why my wife sometimes will get upset with me, but like I won't take her purse and I'll put it behind us on the floor. I want to hold it. Just put the thing down there and leave it there, please. But she doesn't. Yeah. But I'm with you. You got to think about that stuff. And then you hear people say, well, you're paranoid, man. All you're thinking about is all the bad things. Not at all. I'm thinking about how I'm going to get to my destination safely. And if there is a car accident, I'm not going to get myself all effed up. Yeah. That door pocket in your car, that's Pelican case foam that you made that out of?
Yeah. It's pull apart. I've been doing that for over 15 years.
That's the square. This is okay. I've got a bunch of that laying around.
Yeah. And you set it up and it's nice. And I actually had one piece that I used for quite a few years, and then got to a bigger vehicle and it didn't, I had to get new foam, and the foam breaks down, but it takes a long time for that stuff to break down. But
you're not like taking stuff in and out of it either. That stuff kind of just sits there.
Yep. It's kind of like, it's like when we would do the deep reconnaissance patrols and cold weather DRPs and like my med kit in the car, like it's there, and the goal is to never use it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not touched. It's there for when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Like my survival bag, like my little go bag that's got food, extra ammo, space blankets, med kit, hatchet, all those things in it. Lighter. I don't touch anything in that bag. I open it, every 3, 4, 6 months, whatever. Look at everything, make sure everything's still good, make sure I know where everything is, and close it back up.
Didn't come chew a hole, something, right?
Yeah, and I don't touch it. It stays that way. So that's like kind of like how my door is. The only thing that I use on the door is the sunscreen and that little thing. But everything else is like as needed. Now I will go to the range and I will shoot from my truck. I will drop a mag and reach to the door and, in practice and just get that down. So I know how to do it. But
just so you guys understand what Ron's describing, and I'm sure there's other people that have done this, but it was pretty slick what you did. I took a picture of it actually. So the door pocket you guys have in the sides of your vehicles, the doors, he cut foam to fit into that pocket to fill the whole door pocket, and then he made niches in the foam for pistol mags. You got a tourniquet in there. I think you had a rifle mag in there. You had some other stuff. It could be whatever you want, whatever you feel that you need, but it puts it in the same spot, so it's not just some loose shit floating around your console or glove box. It's static. If I have to have this magazine, here it is. Right now.
Organization. Yeah. Okay. Organization and compartmentalization.
I've adopted this phrase. A friend of mine, disorganization is the brother of disaster. Or you can recite it however you want, but yeah, most shit that goes well doesn't start out with disorganization. Usually, go well, you're organized, and yeah, I'm down with that. Like even something as simple as like where you put things on your body. You're like, I'm going to try it over here. I'm going to try it over there. I don't know how many times that my pocket knife, I've carried it in the same spot since I was a teenager. That's where it goes. And it's like I could be in a room. You do the same thing. You got a flashlight somewhere on your body. Somebody will be like, how'd you do that? How'd I do what? Like the lights went out and you get a light like 2 seconds later. Because I've always carried a light there for like 18 years in the exact same spot. And I check the batteries like every 2 weeks. I mean, I use it all the time, but I replace the batteries every 2 weeks to a month with new batteries. And so I know it's going to work. Yeah, it's good stuff. And I really enjoyed talking to you. We're like almost at the 2-hour mark here. So I want to make sure we don't bore people with too much.
Yeah.
I think we should do another one, and we can specifically like hone in on some of that like organizational mindset for the prepared citizen. I think that'd be a good discussion because you real switched on to that thought process.
Yeah. And I think with that, the biggest thing to look at that is that preparedness, it does come with a price. It does come with a cost. Things aren't cheap, but you don't have to go out there and do it all at once. Mm-hmm. So you have to, you got to write it down, and you got to come up with your list, your priorities, your list of priorities. Mm-hmm. And then you just go, boom. It's like a checklist. Mm-hmm. Like this month I can afford to get emergency food. Got that one. That's good for 25 years. So you look at like, what do I need right now? Well, I only have one pistol. I probably should get a shotgun. Okay, so then that now becomes the priority. Well, I need ammo. I got to have a surplus of ammo. What's a surplus of ammo? If I have 100 mags, I have 100 mags that need to be loaded, in a box on standby in body armor or whatever. So that's up to the individual. But you just give them suggestions.
I have a customer student of mine that sent me a picture. He's like, I'm stocked. And he had like 10, 50 round boxes in his pistol. And he was excited, like that's cool. It was like, yeah, man, thumbs up. Like I've got that much in my kitchen, like in the drawer, but but it's not about how much. To your point, like to him, he was a new to the shooter, and to him to have 500 rounds of ammo sitting there, 500 rounds, it's 10 boxes. It was like, woohoo. Like, because you never would go out and drop that kind of money on something like that, where you or I are like, what kind of deal you give me for 12 cases? You know, like, that's totally normal.
Yeah. Go to gunbot.net and find the cheapest stuff you can get.
Right. I've had pallets of ammo shipped before where we had to get a loading dock and somebody with a forklift to get the stuff, but not to this address. So don't come looking because you won't like what happened. Dude, we'll do it again.
Yeah, you need to get down to a castle law state.
We've actually got pretty decent laws here in Illinois for self-defense.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
They're not bad. They're not bad at all. And a lot of people don't. They, like other states, like North Carolina, you got to have a pistol permit license, right? A pistol purchase, some kind of permit to purchase.
Yes. So we don't have constitutional carry yet. You do to carry concealed. And our permit has reciprocity with, I think, 39 states. But to purchase a pistol without a concealed carry permit, you need to get a pistol purchase permit.
Yeah, we don't even have that in Illinois. We've got
you're allowed 5 of those a year. Now, that being said...
Wait a second. You're only allowed to buy 5 pistols a year?
No. You're only allowed to buy 5 pistols with a pistol purchase permit.
Oh.
When you get your concealed carry permit, you go in and buy 5 pistols a day. There's no limit.
That's interesting. So, like, there's like your state, I would automatically assume has way less strict gun laws than Illinois. Something like that. People here would be running the rebel flag up the pole at the state house if they try to pull some crap like that. So even in my extremely liberal state, I could go buy 100 ARs every Monday morning if I could afford it, and a million rounds of ammo. Our concealed carry law here is pretty lenient in a lot of ways. Like, I could have 100-round beta mags on me and my AR pistol, and that's legit for concealed carry. Some other states, you got whatever guns on the license, and if you got something else with you, you're a class 4 felon. That's
and there's no ammo restrictions here. The concealed carry permit does not extend to an AR pistol, and I think it doesn't. Also, I don't think you can carry concealed suppressed, but you can carry a suppressor, put it on, and use it. So,
excuse me, bad guy. It's good chatting, man. We'll do it again soon.
All right, I appreciate it, Mickey.
I appreciate it. How do people find you, Ron? What's the website?
All right. So we got RykerUSA.com, RYKER USA. Social media, Instagram and Facebook, we're Ryker USA Inc. That's our logo. Raven, one of Odin's Ravens, and they are. And then my personal is Instructor1. That's ONE, spelled out, not the number.
Which stands for one large testicle.
That's correct.
You said it earlier.
Yes.
We'll post up the web address in the video version of this when it goes up on YouTube. And of course, there's many more of these that we've done that are up if you guys want to listen to them. There's many more of them to come. We'll have Ron back on again. And if you guys have questions on any of the material that we just talked about today, feel free to send me an email to training@carrytrainer.com, or of course to Ron directly through their websites there that he posted up, and social media feeds. Follow him on Instagram, Ryker, @RykerUSA. Correct?
Yes.
Be well.
Visit our website, carrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@carrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@carrytrainer.com or carrytrainer.com.